So scared.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. It's Girls Night In. We are celebrating Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day. I'm Becky Stern with all of my friends here to get folks excited about engineering. We're going to do some crafts. We're going to do some LEDs. We're going to talk about what we're working on. And co-host with me today is Allie Weber. Allie, what do you want to say about, how do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Allie. I've been making things since I was pretty much in elementary school, so I'm used to being a girl in STEM, and I'm glad you all could join us here today.
Sweet. I'm so happy to party with you again. The last time we partied together was Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
And also joining the stream is Sohpy Wong. Hello, Sohpy. Tell us about yourself.
Hello. So I usually call myself a designer actually, but I do some engineering in the projects that I do as well. So I make a lot of wearable technology projects. I do a lot of costumes and fashion projects that have electronics built into them, or I make them with like digital fabrication technology, like 3D printing and laser cutting. And yeah, I'm just kind of generally a crafty, creative person, and I like to just use whatever materials I need and techniques I need to make the crazy things in my mind.
Cool. Well, welcome everybody. Everybody's links are in the description, so you should definitely check out and follow everybody who's in the stream. Next up is Becky Button. Becky, welcome to the stream.
Hey, I'm Becky. I'm an artist and engineer. I really enjoy making things and solving problems on kind of all ends of the spectrum. Right now, I'm pretty involved in experimental music, and I'm exploring a lot of experimental music beat boop boxes in my projects. So today, that's kind of what I'm going to be working on. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks. And you're in school, right? Where do you go to school?
Yeah. I go to Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah, awesome. That's sweet. Well, okay, so also joining us in this stream is a recent engineering college grad, Caeley Looney. Caeley, welcome. Nice to see you again. Tell everybody about yourself.
Thanks for having me. So I'm actually an aerospace engineer full-time. So I work out on the Space Coast on small satellites. And making is super new to me. We took over, if any of you know Zyla Foxland, she used to run a nonprofit called Beauty and the Bolt. And I run a nonprofit called Reinvented. And so we kind of merged our nonprofits a couple years ago, and that pushed me in the direction of making. And so electronics and power tools and all that are really new, but I've been having a really awesome, fun time over the past year and a half learning how to use all of it. So I'm super hyped to be with all of you today.
Thank you for coming. I first met Caeley when I was on the cover of Reinvented with Zyla, and that was that's my first time ever photo directing a magazine cover, and also my first time having more than just my face in a tiny little circle on a magazine cover. So thanks, Caeley.
It's still one of my favorite Reinvented covers of all time.
So. I have it on the wall in my studio. If you watched the takeover I did today, you'll see it show up lots of times in my studio. Okay, and then also joining the stream today, we have Geek Mom Projects herself, Debra Ansell. Debra, welcome. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you. Hi, I am Debra Ansell. I've been making, actually a little bit like Caeley, I came late to making. I've always loved science and math when I was a kid, but didn't have access to the tools kind of that I have now. And I was a very creative kid, but kind of a frustrated creative kid because I couldn't draw, didn't have great hand-eye coordination, and just didn't think I could ever express myself by making things. But so I went on to study physics and math in college. And then when I got out and had kids, I started one of them did robotics, and I started to help out with his team because I knew how to code, and realized, hey, this is fun. I like this. And immediately found LEDs and wearables and kind of decided that was my niche and that's what I wanted to do. And now if I'm not making something, I'm probably sleeping. So it's been good.
So it's not only introduce a girl to engineering. I mean, you're always a girls and women, I suppose, but introduce a mom to Engineering Day. So we were telling people to bring their kids to the stream, to also bring your parents to the stream, and get inspired to learn that engineering is not just math and It's also very creative. So thanks, Debra. I love all of the LEDs you got going on in the background. I just got the new issue of Make, and I saw that sphere on the cover. I'm looking forward to learning how to make it in the magazine.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, and then from the Digi-Key side, we have everybody's best robot friend, Ajay, and we also have Kevin. Ajay, what's up, dude? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I was
Classic.
muted. I didn't want to make anything in the background, make a noise. Hi, I'm Jay. I'm your favorite oddity. I do robotics, mostly wearable companions, which I'm currently working on in front of me. That's what I'm going to be working on. What else am I supposed to add? Oh, yeah. I was born in a log cabin many years ago. No, I'm kidding. I went to art school. I got my art degree. I realized I didn't want to do art. I wanted to do something else. And then I kind of taught myself how to build stuff. I taught myself engineering, robotics, electronics, programming. And years later, I'm here.
Huzzah! Me too. I also went to art school. I think that's a common thread among many of us joining the stream today, that we maybe were only thought about calling ourselves engineers after other people started calling us engineers, because we went to art school and design school. And I do think of myself as a designer primarily, but you can't deny that engineering is engineering.
Yeah, I think of myself more of a tinker, because I feel like engineering is like a really big, like you went through school and had to go through stuff. I didn't. I just kind of taught myself, so I prefer the term tinker.
I think like dentist, like there's a certification you have to get to be a dentist. I don't know that there's I know there's engineering certifications you can get, but I don't think you need a certification just to call yourself an engineer.
I don't want to fight the tech bros on the internet.
I know, right? And then last but not least is Kevin running the stream today from Digi-Key. Thanks, Kevin. How you doing over there?
I'm doing good. I'm just the guy pushing all the buttons today, trying to figure things out.
He's just the one making the show happen. So thanks.
I'm trying to make it happen. So if something goes wrong, it's definitely on me. I'm way better at doing this kind of stuff. But
I appreciate you on camera control.
Yeah, in the background here, my name is Kevin Walseth. I work for Digi-Key. I work in the technical marketing department, and we do our area does all things kind of maker, STEM, startup related. A lot of the events, maker fairs, open source hardware summit, course robotics events, hackathons, you name it, and that's typically our team. And I've seen a lot of you at these events, which has been great, and I'm so glad that they've started up again.
Hooray! We don't need to talk about the before times or the during times. We're in the after times.
We're in the times of making things and showing them off.
Events are happening. 2023.
Right.
Jay, are we hearing you make noise? Is that why you were muting yourself? Because somebody's making clanging noises on their guy. Is it you, Sohpy?
Sorry. Maybe I can really quickly go change my soldering iron tip.
You can. I need to do the same thing. I need to switch my soldering station too. But you have an independent read control. Well, this is a really like raucous party, and so I hope y'all have like a beverage of your choice and like a working soldering iron next to you. If you happen to be working on a soldering project tonight, like Jay brought it up, and I want to hear from some of the rest of you, because I went to design school. Sophie, you said call yourself a designer. Jay went to design school. Like, what are some of the like education or career milestones that, and Debra described her experience a little bit getting into engineering. What are some things that like made you get interested in what you're working on today? Those of us who I guess haven't been covered yet. So like Becky.
I feel like honestly, this has been a source of identity struggle for me, because I feel like I'm in engineering school, and what I found is that the people around me, it was very like there's a lot of theory, and I thought I wanted to be an engineer because I enjoyed making stuff, and I actually found that people who were making the most stuff were like the art kids, and so all my friends in college, or at least most of them, have been like architecture, art, like music. Just I think that there's something really I think that that's something that has been missing in my like engineering education, as far as like the hands-on practical, that like like I almost switched my major literally last semester, like because I've been thinking about this so much. Like I really like
engineering school all over the place be giving makers existential crisis because what you need more application of the things you're learning while you're learning them.
Yeah, I want to make beep boop boxes. I want to have fun. And I think that there's like some component of that that's missing in engineering school. Like I took so it's really funny. I took a signals class my sophomore year, and I hated it. Like it was awful because it was just so much math. But I realized that like in order to make like synths and stuff like that, like that's all like super useful information. And had that like information been presented to me in like a let's make a synth, like I think I would have retained a lot more. So I don't know.
That makes sense. That resonates with me a lot too. Sometimes I learn an engineering concept later in life. I'm like, well, how come then nobody explains to me that the derivative is just guessing where the ball is going to land after you launch it? Like once I learned that, I was like, well, okay, the application of the engineering or the physics or the math like was way more interesting than the concept itself. But you do need the fun. But I don't know. So I'm a proponent of like letting your curiosity guide you, and like you said,
I agree.
like teaching some kind of application. You need like some kind of dopamine release or success, intermediate success to keep you going, right?
Yeah.
What about you, Allie? You're probably the I don't want to call you the youngest. You are, but
I probably am the youngest.
The earliest in your education journey. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I'm a senior in high school right now. Growing up, especially in Midwestern South Dakota, it's always been really hard for me to find STEM opportunities, especially with the level that I was at. You know, I knew how to solder in like elementary school because I learned all that at home and stuff, but being able to find camps and different events and competitions regarding engineering and stuff that I was interested in was really hard, especially for someone my age, because they'd be like, you're like 10, we're not going to let you solder this, and it's a liability. And I'd be like, but I'm really good at it, though. And so being able to go online and find other communities like you guys who are able to, you know, inspire me and also give me direction on projects I can do and just things to be involved in, that was really helpful growing up for me.
Awesome. And are you at the point where you're applying to college right now?
Yeah, so I'm going to go into pharmacy school next year, so I'm excited.
Whoa,
well,
excited.
pre-pharmacy.
Yeah, pre-pharmacy. Yeah, cool. Congrats.
Thanks.
That's really exciting. I have my siblings' kids are your age and applying to colleges, and it's just, I remember it's just an exciting time, although like it seems a little uncertain, right? I don't know.
Very stressful.
Yeah. Big change. You're going to do great. What about you, Caeley? How was your journey into and through engineering school and to your current position?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting and cool because you're all, or most of you are designers, and I did the complete opposite. When I went into engineering, like I thought everything was very black and white. And so like I consciously made the decision to abandon all passions for art because I did not think that art and engineering went together. And so I went off, I did my bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering. I have my master's in space systems engineering. And through most of that journey, I never picked up a paintbrush. I never did any of this fun stuff. And I actually grew up middle school and high school wanting to be a fashion designer. So
me too.
Yeah, I was really bad at it.
Me too.
For the best for the world that they weren't exposed to my fashion sense while I was in high school. I think I've gotten better since then. But yeah, I like completely cut that part out of myself. And it wasn't until I kind of stumbled on the concept of making that I realized that art and engineering are actually so complementary. And now I've been able to kind of combine both my passions and even more like fun. And Sophie, like you actually have been a huge inspiration like to me because you do so much with fashion, and you introduced me to this idea that like I could do fashion and engineering. And I'm starting small, but like I had started making like some purses, and so like this was my first one. Like I 3D printed it in the shape of a constellation, Orion. And this one just has like fairy lights behind it. But I recently learned how to make tiaras thanks to Becky's tutorial. So I'm trying to add some neopixels to like a new prototype to see if I can get it to glow a little bit brighter and like actually make it different colors, because the fairy lights only stay one color. So that's what I'm doing today.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That looks so good too. I love that 3D printed. I love the bag that you said there's fairy lights in it. Can you can you turn it on?
Still work.
I love the Orion constellation design. That's so cool. Oh, it looks so good.
Oh, it's so nice.
I love it.
That's gorgeous.
That is so cool.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh, that's actually so. When you described your journey, it feels really similar to mine in a way, because I studied design and I have been like an artsy person, but I never thought I could do electronics. Like I never thought I could do. I feel like in my life I by default just assume I can't do something until I figure out by accident that I can a lot of times. So it's like overcoming that like default in my mind has taken me a long time. But for me, it was like I was doing graphic design. So I always wanted to do fashion design too, but I didn't know if I was, if I should pursue it. I thought graphic design was more, job findable and easier. It was actually, I love graphic design, and I love that the design education I had was really holistic. It was like they were teaching us design concepts that could be applied to lots of different things. So I kind of graduated thinking like, oh, well, I'll do graphic design now and I'll figure out maybe what I want to do forever later. And it wasn't until I saw someone on Project Runway doing electronics, like putting electronics in a dress, that I was like, what? You can, first of all, you can do that. So it was like the second season, it's Diana Ng.
Diana Ng, yeah.
Oh, I changed my life, because when I saw that, I was like, well, first of all, I was like, I had no idea like these things existed. And then my husband immediately, he was like, you should try that. And I was like, I should try that. So I bought her book and I did all her tutorials, and I found Becky Stern tutorials. Becky, you also changed my life, because when I found your like amazing tutorials and like just the wealth of them, I did like almost every single one, and I learned from each one. And I was like, what was really cool about your tutorials is and I try to do this when I write my tutorials because I'm inspired by the way you did this. You craft the tutorial around a really cool project that I definitely wanted to make, but you wrap that project around a concept that you can learn and then apply that to something else. So I was making your projects, and then I was like, I can see how I can tweak a couple of things here and make it a totally different thing, but use the circuit that she just taught me, or use this like component that I now understand how to use. And like that, just like that was a huge fork in my path that just bloomed into pretty much everything I'm doing now. So thank you, Becky.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you, Diana Ng. Amazing how many projects are just like NeoPixels and a sensor.
I know. You can do so much with NeoPixels and a sensor.
We're doing it today, although just NeoPixels. Yeah.
But that's part of the design, like it's like and engineering as well. It's like you understand the materials and you understand the concepts, and then you fill in everything else, and you can make anything out of that stuff,
And can I just break in here to Becky? Yes, you were kind of, when I saw what you were doing and what you're writing up and how much fun they were, that you were, I kind of look at you as one of the path layers for kind of the whole maker movement and the tutorials, and making it accessible, and really, anybody can start anywhere with whatever skill set you have. And I just want to briefly break into, because you're a couple of you have mentioned, you coming from an artistic background, you thought, I don't know if I can do the engineering part. And for me, I knew it was all possible, but I always felt like when I tried things, it took me a long time to realize that just because my projects broke when I was doing them didn't mean I was bad at it. everybody's projects break when you do them. Occasionally, everybody hooks wires up backwards sometime and releases a little bit of magic smoke in the process. It was so helpful to see tutorials and people doing it and showing their mistakes in real time.
It's
and then I realized,
the mistake, like posting your mistakes when you share projects is really one of the best things you can do to get other people to learn, because then you're showing them what the mistake was so that they're not going to make it themselves, so they can learn from your experience. I think that's when I make mistakes, I often will leave in like a little bit about the mistake. I don't want to go on like a whole big tangent down a path that didn't work, but summarizing why it can help somebody stand on your shoulders. But I really appreciate I didn't invite you to my party so you could just say nice things about me, although I won't say no. Thank you. And for proper linkage, several of my hundreds of tutorials are on the Maker.io website, where you can follow along and learn how to build, all kinds of cool electronics projects. All right, so what are y'all working on? I have posted a link in the description to Nate Larson project, who's a cool Digi-Key person, for previous Girls Night Out, which is a black and white painting on a canvas that is stretched instead of boarded. I don't know what the other kind is. And I want to put NeoPixels behind it. So my paint's still a little wet. I've been painting this, and that's what I'm working on today is Nate Larson's tutorial. And so if you want to have a project that he's got a tutorial for it already up, and I'll make my own version of the tutorial at some point after I finish the project. So it's a great project to follow along with, like a room full of young people who don't know if they're interested in engineering yet, because it involves both being crafty and engineering. So but other people on the stream are working on other things possibly, and you can see them tinkering away. And I realized that the USB power supply I have is not powerful enough for my USB soldering iron. So while one of you tells us about what you're working on, I'm going to go get my other soldering iron. Allie, what are you working on?
Okay, so I really like the idea of doing the canvas with the NeoPixels in it, but instead of doing a black and white painting, I'm going to be doing a color painting, and then I'm going to be doing a rubber duck and then put bubbles, and the bubbles will light up. I think that would be really cute. But one of the things that you guys keep mentioning is how much art is involved in engineering, and that is so true. When I was younger, though, I used to be really scared of art and like art things because I thought that I was awful at it. Like I could not draw a straight line. I could not do anything. I felt so bad at art. And these past couple of years have really taught me that art can be anything that you want it to be. Like even if you're bad at first, if you just practice for long enough, it'll start to be good. Like every time that I'm bored in school, I've started doodling in my notebooks, and I've been bored in school enough that I'm at the level where I can draw full-blown people now. Like, it's crazy. But so it really just takes practice. But the other thing is, not all art has to be drawings. Not all art has to be, as long as it's personal to you, then that's really what it's about. I just entered my first art contest recently through Scholastic, and I ended up winning some awards with my bug dioramas that I've done. So I have this little diorama. It's a little room, and it's got cicadas in it. I don't know how well you can see, but yeah, there's a little cicada there at the desk, and it's got so lights, cool. So it includes, electronics and stuff. And there's out the window, there's a wasp.
Oh my gosh!
It's got all these
detail.
I used 3D printing to make the picture frames and the typewriter in there, a lot of the furniture. I photoshopped small photos of those little Polaroids in the corner. So just being able to use different aspects of engineering and making in different things like this. Like I said, not everybody likes bugs, obviously, but I do, and I think they're neat. And so being able to incorporate stuff that I like and make something like this that I'm really proud of is also what making's all about.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. And not everybody likes bugs, but it's definitely like attention getting. And then maybe a lot of people like miniatures and are into like doll houses, right? I had a doll house when I was a kid that I liked playing with. So that's super cool. Yeah, I agree that like art, design and art and engineering, like both require, all of you have said, like they just require practice until then you'll feel like you're better at it. And I'd like to point out how different that practice feels when you're doing it. I teach a graduate student design class here at SVA in New York City. And the students are design students. Most of them don't have any engineering background. And what surprises them, they're so used to incremental iteration, right? Like you're designing and you're sketching and like your drawing gets like a little bit better every time you try. And you can kind of see your improvement, and it's more or less on like a steady trajectory towards skillfulness. And in engineering, the pitfalls and it's a lot more jagged of a ramp where it's like it doesn't work, you're trying all these different things, it doesn't work, and then all of a sudden it works, and you learned all these things about why it didn't work before, and you have a breakthrough. And for designers, like that can really shake their confidence when they're trying to bang their head against the wall and there's no incremental improvement. It like can set off alarm bells in your brain, like this isn't working, you need to try something else, when really you just need to try a little bit longer until you have some success. So I don't know if it's easier to be an artist and get into engineering, or be an engineer and get into art, where like the other way, there's also some kind of self-doubt involved. If you're an engineer and you want to get good at art, it's like, well, are my ideas any good? And like once you practice and you get positive feedback, like that's the only way that you're gonna like change your self-image. Not the only way, but it's one of the ways you're gonna change your self-image. So it's interesting to hear y'all's different takes on that. I always tell my students, it's just a different process. You have to trust the engineering process.
I think that part of it is like it's like internalizing the processness of it definitely takes some doing. Like I think for me, like although I've like very much considered myself like an artist, I've had a hard time like I guess using that identity word, just because I feel like it's taken some time to like I guess accept and understand that like there's no such thing as perfect art, or there's no such thing as perfect in general. And I think like whatever I see as like imperfections and whatever I'm creating is actually like in some kind of way like pieces of me that trickled into whatever thing I'm doing. And like getting over that has been something that is like non-trivial. And I don't think I'm even over it, to be honest. But I think just like coming to terms with like how iterative it can be, and like how like it does take time. It just takes time. I guess has been a learning curve for me.
Yeah, right. And also like everybody's taste, I told my design students that like your taste doesn't always match up with your skill level when you're first interested in something. So it can feel really super uncomfortable. Like, what am I doing here being bad at this thing that I see it. But if you keep practicing and you're interested in enough, then eventually your skill level will meet your taste level if you work hard enough at it. So that's an important thing to realize, where you are on your skill train, right? Like I just got engaged, and like my mom's like, "You're gonna make your wedding dress?" And I'm like, "Heck no, Mom, like my taste level and my skill level like don't match up for this one."
Yeah. One thing I will say,
way to add even more stress to a stressful event. Don't do it.
Another thing I'm realizing is like you can make things that people hate. Like that is okay. Like if you like it, like that is okay. Like I don't think like one of the things that I'm realizing is like it can be a space to just make things that only you like, and like there's no other market for it other than you. Like you are the one person like who wants this, and like that is beautiful. Like
speaking of which, what are you making right now, Becky?
Me? Yeah. Okay, so I'm playing around with beep boop boxes. I have this vision for like a percussive instrument that is non-standard. Like I'm imagining a drawer change with a piezo transducer. So last night I got this. I have a piezo element kind of connected to wait, I don't know how cameras work. I have a piezo element like connected to like a little amplifier circuit, and I've just got it connected to a speaker, and I've been playing around with like different like noises that I can make. Which this other piezo I think was giving me better noises. Let me give you this. And what I'm building right now is I want to be able to like kind of modulate the signal and create like weirder noises. So like you can hear like little things. I'm not sure if you're hearing it super well.
Yes, we're hearing it. Yeah, we're hearing it super well. Contact microphone fuzziness, classic.
Great. Cool. You're with me. So I want to play around with like making it sound very robotic. So doing some like digital signal processing. So I'm building just like a control circuit for that right now. I've just got like potentiometers and like some sort of Arduino on here.
That's awesome. That reminds me of a classroom project one of my classmates in school did that was a musical breakfast. And he put piezo mics on like the knife and the teacup and the toast and then like he had like a capacitive touch sensor so that when he touched the knife to the butter, like something happened, and it was through like Max MSP or some other visual. And how much fun that experimentation is, you know, like. So don't forget to take videos because you're gonna really like those in 15 years. You're gonna think they're super cute. It's just like everything vintage. Like if you have a favorite pair of jeans, don't like wear them until they wear out. Put them away and then wear them again in 20 years.
Yeah.
This is advice to my past self.
Yeah.
I know. I'm really bummed I threw out all my 90s clothes.
I know.
They're
me too.
all back now.
Yeah, I know. Debra, what are you working on? I hate to interrupt, but you work.
That's okay, because I'm finding it really difficult to focus on soldering and turn off my fan.
Me too. I'm working at like 0.25 speed. Here.
Yes. No, I keep putting the wire in, moving it to my soldering station, and then the wire pulls out and I come back. So it's a little slow. So unlike you artistic folk, I still don't necessarily consider myself an artist, but I just want to throw in before I tell you what I'm working on. That CAD, computer aided design, for somebody who's decidedly unartistic and frustrated by it. CAD was a revelation because I still can't draw. I can't sketch. I can barely draw a straight line, but on a computer I can do it all, and I can get things exactly the way I want them. So that was such I'm not artistic. CAD and design and 3D printing are such a creative outlet for me because I can take what's in my head and get it out there, and that's really fun. Although if I thought about what project I would work on, and I realized that if it was going to be a 3D printed one, most of it would be just me sitting here staring at the screen in Fusion 360, and it would just look like this the whole time. So not very interesting. So,
you can screen share.
So yeah, I did take the LED strip you got, but I do not have the confidence to make my own artwork. But this is a nicely shielded LED strip with this nice plastic covering, so it's nicely protected, and it'll fit, I think, once I get it lighted up, very nicely in this scarf, which is literally just fuzzy fabric folded in half and sewn. So I'm going to turn this nice LED strip that you kindly provided me with, and Digi-Key, thank you, and it's going to be a light up scarf.
Sweet.
So once I get it working, once I can finally get that solder the wire to stay in long enough for me to.
I know, right? I had to like go get a new soldering iron. I have soldered 3 connections during the 33 minutes we've been on the air. It's a little slow with the chatting, but the goal is just to have fun and talk about the fun things we're interested in making. So
thank goodness for that. Thank goodness.
We'll all share on social media the results of our crafts later. Caeley, are you working on something different than the rest of us? Oh yeah, duh. You already asked you. I'm sorry. I'm running the stream. I totally know what's going on. Go ahead, Sophie.
I'm putting lights in a pillow because I don't.
Oh, that's right. You showed us to that before we went live. I forgot. Sorry. Yeah. What are you working on, Sophie?
It's just this pillow that I got from Joanne's Halloween collection like 2 years ago. Joanne's has been killing Halloween lately, by the way. But I love this like crazy eye pillow, and I thought it just needed some LEDs. So I'm adding a few like sewn LEDs amongst the stars. And you know, Becky, how we always write in our tutorials that when you're gonna do your sewn circuit, you have to like draw it out and plan it ahead of time. I'm breaking that rule. So
you have license. You have artistic license, right? There's this thing like once you know the rules and you have followed the rules sufficiently for long enough, then you may break them.
Maybe.
You have my permission.
Thank you. We'll see how it goes. But you know what I do tell myself, or I keep learning this lesson, is that when you should always prototype. And even when you think you're not prototyping, you are, because it won't work And then
That's
you
a
have to
good
do
way
it
to
again.
phrase it. That's a good way to phrase it. I always tell my students, like, expect to make it multiple times, but that's a good way to phrase it. Like, even if you don't think you're prototyping, you are, because you can always do it better the next time. But since you have so much experience, and I do too, so I know what I'm like, if you're a beginner, try this first. But if you're Sohpy Wong, then like go for it, like if you
I mean, I did draw. I tried.
Okay.
But we'll see if that's enough information for me to figure out the rest. But
with conductive thread,
I am doing the trick of like hot gluing them into place first, so I don't have to hold them,
oh, that's nice.
And these are the little like sewable, tiny little sewable. Oh, where are they?
Oh, the sequins, the
little sequins,
the non-adjustable ones. They're just LEDs.
Just LEDs. So I mean, it's very simple. So it's gonna be fewer things to mess up, possibly. No coding. So that's my project.
That's great. Yeah, that's super fun. That reminds me of a student project that I give my students an assignment to learn how to sew and solder in the same unit, and they do a plush nightlight, and a lot of them are like into a pillow. I'm like, it's okay. It can be a square.
Yeah. It's not going to be very practical afterwards because it'll be a little scrappy.
Hey, look what happened. I found this Arduino Micro in my drawer, and I plugged a NeoPixel ring into pin 6, and look what already has code on it.
Yay! Yay! I'm literally downloading the demo code from circuitpython.org now because there's no way I'm writing anything live.
Yeah, no way. No. I was just going to load up the demo sketch, but it's already here on pin 6. I sent y'all, if y'all get the parts before the blizzard in the Midwest, I think I sent you a Xiao RP2040. That's my recent favorite board for doing things with very little. Yeah, you've got something there with very few inputs or outputs. Since it's so small and affordable, and it runs Arduino or Python. So Debra, you're going to fire up some Python code on it.
I'm fast prototyping. CircuitPython is the best because the real-time interactivity of coding and just the wealth of examples, and just how interactive and how quick it is to go. No compiling. So I'm all about speed. Maybe
if
not
y'all, I'm curious what your preferences are, and anybody can answer, because I learned Arduino first for physical computing, and I can hang with Python, but I just don't know it as well, so I still kind of prefer Arduino, especially for teaching, because I can answer lots more questions about it. But I feel like if I had learned Python first, then I might like it more. So I'm curious how y'all feel about your preferred programming language for microcontrollers.
I'm pretty much just using CircuitPython now, which is the Adafruit fork, I guess, of Python, and I'm using that purely because I pretty much always use Adafruit products. I know the ecosystem, I know how they work, so it just fits really well. And that's pretty much what I'm doing now. But I'll use whatever as long as I can learn it, I'll use whatever I need to for that particular hardware. But that's working out for me.
I've been enjoying recently. Oh, go ahead, Becky.
No, I use Python at work pretty much consistently, and so it's nice to not have to use Python when I do projects.
That's an interesting take.
Also, let me because I'm really hyped.
Woo!
I added 2 NeoPixels from the original code, and I got it to work on the Uno instead of the Gemma, and so I'm kind of proud.
Yeah, you should be. That's awesome.
In the constellations.
This is what I'm talking about, that dopamine release, that incremental success you need to be motivated to keep going is really critical, I feel for learning about what you're into. So even if we're talking about learning about what you want to do when you grow up, or getting interested in engineering, how can you know what kind of mindset you like having until you try a bunch of different things, and they either give you a happy dopamine or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something to be said, though. There's a reason the Bible starts with "Let there be light," because that LED light and the blinky, you always start with blinky. When the thing lights up, it is a huge rush.
You're hooked.
Yeah, it is a huge rush.
Going back to that episode of Project Runway, I hated dresses growing up, and I could not stand them. And then I saw that episode, like specifically, that was pretty much the only episode I ever watched because my mom was like, "Look how cool this is," and I remember seeing that dress light up, and I was like, "Yeah, I'd wear that." After wearing like 0 dresses for the past 5 years before that, and so
Allie, I feel that so hard
for it.
I feel that so hard. I also don't really like dresses, but when I see electronics and dresses, I'm like, ooh, fun.
Yeah.
And I also a huge project runway fan. You know, when I went to Parsons School of Design for undergrad, and while Tim Gunn was the chair of the fashion department, and I worked as like a secretary in my department, and sometimes I got to like call Tim Gunn on the phone and like set up a meeting with my chair, and he was like so friendly, way more friendly than the chair of the illustration department. Like he was a super grown. So Tim, I was like, and then I watched him on TV and I'd be like, I've talked to Tim Gunn on the phone. Like, I love that show so much because it showed like the real world problem solving, right? They're like, oh my gosh, I'm in a pickle. How am I going to get out of the pickle? And it's not just about the premise of the challenge they set up. It's also in the way that they filmed and edited it, because they included information about the mistakes they were making and how they recovered from them. And even though like, yeah, I like sewing and I was really into fashion design at one time, I'm not so much anymore. I still really like watching that physical construction process happen. So now the new show that's on, what is like Tan France Project Runways, Next in Fashion on Amazon with Tan France, just like, you know, Tim Gunn analogous. And it's also the same kind of, it's the same kind of vibe, but it's with professional designers who are vying to get a like deal to get their collection or something. So it's the problems they're having are a little bit more sophisticated.
Oh wow.
So Becky, I promised I wasn't going to talk, but I have to jump in because I think this is kind of interesting. Pretty much everybody on this call is using LEDs, and we all love LEDs, love blinky things. Has anybody tried using WLED with an ESP?
Yes. Yes, and I have a really overdue email from the very nice WLED person in my email box. It's so cool.
Unbelievable.
Do you want to describe it?
So basically, any ESP board, ESP8266, ESP32, it can be like an Adafruit Feather, it can be a SparkFun, it can be an Espresso board, whatever it is, you can connect it to Chrome. You don't even need to download any kind of compiler, any kind of coding, no Arduino, no Python. The Google Chrome will detect it as a serial port, and you can upload it right to the board from Chrome, and it's absolutely incredible. And
then you can control the LEDs from your phone, like any other Wi-Fi device.
It turns it into a IP address, and you go to that IP address, and you can control whatever it might be. So
the whole strand of LEDs, and like with a bunch of different pre-programmed sort of fun bits, funhouse bits. It's a really great way to get started with like zero coding.
So yeah, I can share a little video. I actually did it in my basement. Let's see if I can share my screen.
You do.
Yeah, right. Doing projects. I was actually looking for an ESP, and I was going to actually demo it, but that's right. You guys are doing cooler things than me anyway.
Not true. We're all doing cool things. Come on. Yes. We're all having positive self-talk, Kevin.
Okay, so this is my basement. Don't judge it; it's not finished. But
wow, your basement's so nice.
Oh, it's so nice. I want to have a party in your basement.
So this is sound activated. Oops, sorry. Get that out.
I bet that basement's not just a Zoom clean, is it?
Okay, I'm not sure what happened here. Let me try to redo that.
So what do you have? Bar lighting going on there?
Yeah. Okay. Let's try this again. See if I can not screw it up. So I have it sound activated. So any audio.
Whoa.
Oh,
that's nice.
And there's so many different, like Becky, like you said, different sequences, different colors, different anything that you can use with it. It's absolutely incredible, and it's so easy to do.
It is so easy. So WLED.com or .net, I can't remember, is the website, and it's a really great. And there's lots of tutorials too, but basically once you get your first circuit wired up, you can just control lots of LEDs. And then if that's a great way to get like that immediate success, and then hopefully will drive your curiosity to learn more about programming, but maybe not. Maybe you use WLED. I think like when you look at like Great Christmas Light Fight or like you know, anybody who's got amazing Christmas decorations, like some of them are just using WLED, and I can tell, and they're
really?
like winning TV show awards with it.
There's really cool, like you said, the Christmas lights. There's actually programs you can go in and you can draw your house and put which LED string is on which pitch of your roof, and then completely create your entire.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that that's a cop out at all. Like if the creativity, if, you know, like whatever gets you to where you're going with the skills and motivation you have, right? Like there's plenty of work in designing the light show.
Right.
Totally. I think this is a really important concept that people who are new to coding, programming, or electronics, or engineering, or design, or any of that stuff, you need to know that you don't necessarily have to invent the entire thing from scratch.
Right.
You know, libraries exist and people use them to do amazing things.
Did you say libraries, Sophie?
Libraries. I mean, you know,
the word, do you remember
libraries? We need to define the word library.
Playhouse? You remember Pee-wee's Playhouse? The word of the day is Arduino libraries. Cherry, tell us about the word of the day. No, I'm just going to plug my video series on the Digi-Key channel. There's like 6 episodes out now, and the most recent one is about Arduino libraries, which are like the superpower that helps you make cool stuff without a ton of work.
1000%. Yeah, just there's no point in reinventing. I'm a huge don't reinvent the wheel, because everything I do is the LEDs, and I use a commercial product that's similar to WLED but a little more programmable called Pixel Blaze, which is running this stuff in the background, most of it. But yeah, I mean, I like having some control over my LEDs, but I don't want to. I don't want to spend all my time, you know, reinventing the wheel. I want to do the new stuff I haven't tried yet. So once
I hear this from students too, like when they're learning how to code, it's tough to draw the analogy in design and art to like how much we copy paste code. Because like, of course we all copy paste code. That's like how you learn how to code. And anybody who's, even when they're really advanced writing code, they're not writing all of it from scratch. They're either copying and pasting from their previous code or examples on the internet. And that like idea that artists and designers have about intellectual property it's a really interesting discussion to have with people who are just getting into it, because it's the open source community exists and there's all this sharing with code and hardware, and then art, but it's like similar to like, yeah, you learned art history, and like just because you're using a paintbrush doesn't mean you're ripping off Monet. So like I think it's interesting to come at it from different thought processes.
There's actually a comment in YouTube, and it's from Kevin McAleer, and he said, engineering is like using Lego blocks. You can build new things using existing things without knowing all the ins and outs. That's exactly what you're saying. You don't need to know everything you're doing, is you can build off of other things. And
I think it's so critical also for like every career that exists now and every career that doesn't exist yet needs people who can relate the way something is made with like what its purpose is. So like designers need to be able to speak to engineers to get the thing to actually turn out right, and vice versa. So like it's important that we all speak these different languages, and I don't think anybody can be just an expert in one thing anymore. Existential. Books and websites, folks. What kind of books and websites do you like now, or did you like when you were a kid? I'm gonna ask. If you're still a kid, that means now.
Yeah.
Strictly Digi-Key.com, I'm assuming, right?
Of course.
Well, you know, I used the last catalog I had when I was in grad school. I had a Digi-Key catalog out on my back patio in Arizona State, and I used it as a grill starter. It was an infinite supply of newsprint for my grill starter, but it's only because the website had become so sufficiently advanced for sorting. And I remember when they called me on the phone and were like, "We're not going to send you the catalog anymore. Is that okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, please." But then a couple years later on Make Live, we celebrated like the last printed Digi-Key catalog ever. So I do actually, like, in terms of books and websites, like the Digi-Key catalog does represent like an important place in my brain.
And just in terms of websites that I like, Adafruit, all the new Learn guides, frankly, just following makers online on social media is a huge source of inspiration, because that you don't have to wait till they publish something. You get to see a work in progress often, which is great for ideas and inspiration. And And also, again, for those of us who need a little reassurance that we're not the only one who has failures, that's a great way to see the process that other people go through. But also, like, just in terms of seeing what's new, Adafruit, Hackaday also have great.
Spark Fun.
Spark Fun, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say Instagram, YouTube, like all the places where I can find like all my favorite creators, makers, builders, engineers, and like be able to watch them build things and then follow along. I'm definitely a very visual learner. So like while I love like Adafruit and Digi-Key all have like the step-by-step tutorials, it's so much easier for me to be able to like watch and learn as I go. So those were definitely sites that I've used like my whole life, then and now. Well, Instagram not as much, but YouTube, yes.
I'm curious about people's like what kind of stories or like nonfiction like influenced you. Just because like I think that there's something cool about like relating like fantasy to like real life and like what you're doing, and I'm just wondering how that's manifested in people's lives.
Yeah, I actually go ahead.
Oh, well, when you when you pose the question of like what books and websites did you read growing up and stuff like that, I have to tell you, I'm not a reader. I'm not like a big reader. I don't have the attention span to sit quietly and read a book, but I'm obsessed with movies. So I grew up watching tons of movies, and a big part of what I did growing up, my creative outlet growing up, was surprise, dress up. I had a lot of costumes, and I guess I didn't know that I was designing these, but my mom sewed, and so I would design a costume and she would sew it for me and she would make it for me, and then I'd live in that for the next couple of weeks. And I think, like, to your point, Becky, like, just my interest in these fantasy stories and my like escape into them, and just the fact that I could escape into them in a physical way through like costumes. I didn't know that I could continue that into my adulthood, and that I could maybe turn it into some kind of career. So this is an engineering like topic live stream, but I would definitely submit that engineering is also part of creating functional wearable costuming, and for me it totally grew out of my passion for fantasy and sci-fi.
I think that it's really interesting, like the medium and like how that speaks to you and how that kind of informs what you do, because like you can kind of like seat yourself in these space spheres like so much differently than like a book can do or like a website can do. I also, when I was like thinking about this question ahead of time, I realized like I don't relate to books. I don't necessarily like relate to websites because I didn't have internet growing up, like in the middle of nowhere. So I feel like the medium that has always spoken to me the most was like music, just because I felt like it had like a lot of like family ties. Like my all of my cousins, all my family, like they're all musicians. Like they all have like, many of them have albums out. Like one of my cousins, Charlie, just like released an album last week. And I feel like music has always been like a really important space for me, and in terms of like just like being able to like hear these things. And I think that definitely tracks with just like realizing that the reason, like one of the ways my interest in engineering can manifest with like these creative pursuits is like figuring out new ways or like unique ways of creating these things. So I don't know, I resonated with like the way you talk about the way you relate to movies, because I feel like it's a similar relationship I have with music.
I didn't mean for I meant for the question to make us talk about media in general. So I'm glad that you're like, because like I'm dyslexic, and so I could never read books as fast as my classmates. But once I got turned on to like audiobooks, that was really helpful in high school. But I went to design school for college, and we had like photocopies of a translated Le Corbusier article, and I really struggled with keeping up with reading. But then I got into, like, I don't know, science fiction. Neil Stephenson has a lot of female protagonists, and it's really easy reading and also easy listening if you like to listen to audiobooks. So that's my fantasy fiction.
Snow Crash is one of the only books I've actually read cover to cover, and I devoured it in like 2 days.
I second that. I love that book. It's fantastic.
It's like about a teenage girl delivering pizzas who goes on a wild cyberpunk adventure. And I understand there's like a couple of reasons they haven't made it into a movie yet that, like, I won't, no spoilers, read the book and you'll be like, wow, it's really hard to make a movie with that in it.
They could never do it justice, like for me, what I imagine in my head, like, oh.
I can't wait. It will happen. Ever. There will be a Snow Crash movie eventually. But it's going to be tough. There's like a skateboard with like sticky feet. Yeah, the wheels are like sticky feet, like Katamari wheels.
So cool.
Anybody else want to venture up some media nostalgic media, current media that you think is helping shape your worldview?
Jurassic Park.
Woo! Jurassic Park.
Yes. We all know I was gonna talk about this today. I love Jurassic Park so much. Reading books, especially like sci-fi, there was never really too many books, sci-fi books that I could find that I really liked with good female leads in them. And Jurassic Park was definitely one of them with Laura Dern. Well, not Laura Dern in the book, but Ellie Sattler, and so being able to read that and how she didn't put up with anybody and she still, did her job. She was really interested. That was really cool for me. And also X-Files, because Dana Scully, 10 out of 10.
Oh, I watched so much X-Files, and you've got to love a redheaded protagonist for me. Like, I'm like Ariel from Little Mermaid and Dana Scully. That's like, I'm a cross. I'm not a cross. I wish. Also in Jurassic Park is that younger teenage actress whose name I can't remember. She has my favorite line in all of Jurassic Park, which is like, I know this is Unix.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yes.
She was also in the book. She was younger, and Tim had all the computer stuff. And then in the movie, they made Lex the computer girl because the ages were reversed. I think that was an excellent decision on part of the directors.
That's so cool.
I love how they have the representation in that movie of like competent women and girls doing, having full rich characters.
Yes,
which is not less common in film thing.
And surviving to the end. I think all the women survived. Spoiler. Sorry.
Oh,
it's only like 20, 30 years old, so it's fine.
It cannot be that old.
We only have a few minutes left.
So, 30 years old.
No. Wow. We only have a few minutes left, so I want to see if y'all want to share your progress. I see that Deb has some progress. I'll go first. I have not my full flower LED circuit wired up yet, but I do have, let me turn off my overhead light so you can see. Oh, my computer screen is that bright? Okay, let me lower my computer screen brightness for you. I've got the LEDs behind the sunflower only. Oh, it looks like I need to move it a tiny bit. Hot glued on the back of my canvas, and then I've got some wires coming out so I can continue to add more pixels to light up the rest of the flowers on my painting.
Nice. That looks fantastic.
Deborah, thanks. Deborah, do you want to go next?
Yeah, if you saw me making funny faces in the background as I attempted to pull the NeoPixel strand through the slightly too narrow but passable scarf, it has come through. And I just want to point out, Fleece is an amazing LED diffuser. And the nice thing actually about being on camera while I'm doing this is I can actually like change. I'm like trying to code patterns while I can watch it in real time, change while wearing it. But yeah, I'm pretty happy because what's not to be happy about wearing LEDs? So.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
It looks great, Deborah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody want to go next? Jay, how much progress did you make today?
I'm pretty much good. I got him on my back again, so he's functioning. It's not doing too much right now.
Can you turn around? Can we see the backpack?
Oh yeah, it's a cat backpack. It's a perfect thing. Simple, easy to just grab. Aww. Humans have a whole bunch of cats, so I figured this would be the easiest way to carry it around. It has a built-in speaker and stuff too, but I'm still getting the wearable test to make sure it doesn't fall off or anything. So a lot of
cool.
Wearing it. I'm also working on a second one already while we were talking. I was putting it together. Just, you make it once, there was luck. Make it twice, know what you're doing. Make it 3 times, you're a professional.
I hear that. That resonates with me. Or, add a 0 to each of those numbers and it also works.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jay. Anybody else want to show off what some progress they made or something to the camera that lights up?
I need to attach all the LEDs still, but I got this little rubber duck, and you can't really see it super well, but there's little bubbles. Will it autofocus?
Nice. Yeah.
So
cute.
Yeah.
That's what my bubble baths are like in my dreams.
Mine doesn't light up. All I did was sew the positive line. Sewing takes so long, you guys.
Yes, it does.
But they're there. You can just imagine.
And you're hand sewing it?
Yeah, I'm using the conductive thread.
Oh.
And you know what that means? It really just means that half of the time that I was talking, I was just rethreading my needles because it always slips out. So
yeah, it's very slippery.
Yeah.
I suggest using some silicone. I'm using silicone wire for mine, and I've almost completely given up on conductive thread because this stuff is. I just sew this stuff down instead of using the conductive thread.
Oh, of course. Yes, I love that idea.
What about who else was going to show? Somebody was going to show something, Becky.
Yeah, I mean, I have some like controls kind of wired. Didn't make too much progress because, like everybody mentioned, it's really hard to like focus on like two things at once. But it was really enjoyable because we got to hear everybody. But definitely want to get the buttons wired up and get it doing things.
I can't wait to see a video of it making some noises.
You'll get some beep boops very soon.
Okay, great. Beep boops. You else want to share, Caeley? Caeley, talk about what we got. You're also your computer screen quite bright. Oh, and I see it. It's on.
I'm on mute. You'd think that after like this many years of COVID, I'd learn. Yeah, it's like it's kind of doing it. I think I gotta make it a little bit brighter, and I have to like actually solder these connections because not all the LEDs are lighting up, probably because of my really, really janky connections. But a couple of the first ones are, and I think they just need to be a little bit brighter. But they're purple right now.
Just like your nails and your shirt. Matching. Very cool. Thanks for sharing. Did anybody not go yet? Everybody went, right? No, I did. I went first. I showed my painting with one NeoPixel ring in it.
Did Kevin go? Kevin, what have you been working on?
Kevin's been working on keeping the stream up. Oh, and Kevin's also muted. Classic.
I did get software updated on my Seed recomputer. It's plugged in, so I can't get to it.
Thanks for sharing. Well, this has been so fun. It went by so fast that we didn't get to all of our questions, but that's fine. More content than better to have more content than we need than not enough, I suppose. And there's links to everybody's websites and web presences in the description, and as also the project that I was working on. So I would love to continue this conversation on Instagram, on Twitter, wherever social media you prefer, and TikTok, yep, and Facebook and everywhere. I'm, agnostic to social Mastodon. Hear all about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining. This was so fun, and hope that we've inspired some people to introduce girls to engineering, which is what today is all about. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.